it's Jill from the Cozy Company, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a chunky knit tote. For today's project, you're going to need a few materials. You're going to need size 7 jumbo chenille yarn. You can find this on my website, but you can also find it in places like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Amazon, and Walmart as well. We're going to need a stitch marker. I'm just using this cute little hair clip, but feel free to use any type of stitch marker that you want. And we have a purse strap. I got this off Amazon, but again, you can get it on Amazon, Hobby Lobby, Michael's. I have scissors, and then an optional lighter if you're making a larger tote and you want to burn your ends. In this tutorial, I'll be making a size small tote, but if you look in the description of this tutorial, I'll give you the information on how to make a larger tote if you prefer. So to get started, we're going to find the end of our yarn, and we are going to make a loop similar to the breast care awareness symbol. And I want the tail on top. I'm then going to take the working yarn, the yarn that's attached to my ball of yarn, and I'm going to put it up and through that loop, grabbing it with one hand and pulling down the tail at the same time to tighten. And I want these loop sizes about 2 fingers wide. So in order to accomplish that, I'm just holding the knot right here and pulling on the working yarn to make it a little bit smaller. So about 2 fingers wide. Now to make a size small tote, we want to chain on 11. So if we count this as 1, we're going to do 10 more. So what I mean by that is we're going to take our thumb and our pointer and we're going to put it through this loop. So going from the top of the table down towards the table, we're going to put our thumb and our pointer through. We're going to grab and pinch that working yarn with those 2 fingers. And we're going to pull up a loop the same size, about 2 fingers wide. So now I have a chain of 2. We're going to repeat that same process in our new loop. So take your thumb and your pointer, put it through that new loop. We're going to grab and pinch that working yarn to pull up another loop the same size, about 3 fingers wide. So now we have a chain of 3. We want to continue that process until we get to 11. So now that I have a chain of 11, I'm going to go ahead and take my stitch marker and I'm just going to put it on this loop sticking up right here. That will make more sense in a moment, but for now just grab your stitch marker and place it on this loop that's sticking up at the end of your chain of 11. The next step we're going to do is we're going to pull up loops through this top part of our foundation chain where these twists or bumps are. So as you can see right here where my loop is, right behind it there's a bump. We do not want to go to this one. And we don't want to go to this one because it's attached to this loop. If we work through it, this loop will just slip out. So I'm going to find the one right next to it. So it's right here where my finger's going through. As you can see, it's just the top portion. It's not the middle or the bottom. We only want to be working through the top bumps. So going through that bump that's right next to my loop, I'm going to again take my thumb and my pointer. I'm going to put it through that top bump. I'm going to grab and pinch that working yarn to pull up a loop the same size, about 2 fingers wide. Now I have 2 loops. I'm then going to find the bump right next to it, no skipping or anything, the one right next to it, and pull up another loop the same size. So now I have 3 loops. I'm going to continue doing that all the way till I get to the end of this tail. So that way at the end of this row, I should have a total of 10 loops. Now that I've gotten to the end of the row, I'm just going to double check to make sure I have 10 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. For the next row, we're going to want to pull up loops on the bottom portion of this chain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my work and I'm going to rotate it. So that way these loops are now facing my belly button. So I do not want to pick up my work and flip it. I want to leave it laying flat and I want to rotate it 180 degrees. So the loops that I just did are now facing my belly button. And I'm going to do the same thing, pulling up loops on the back side of this foundation chain. So as you can see right here, my working yarn and tail are at the same end. So I'm just going to put my working yarn over that tail. And I'm going to pull up a loop on the opposite side of this one. So right here on the bottom portion of this foundation chain. So doing what we just did, I'm again going to take my thumb and my pointer. I'm going to put it through that part of the foundation chain. And I'm going to pull up a loop same size as my previous ones. So as you can see, now I have 2 loops opposite of each other. I'm going to go to the next bump or twist and do the same thing. Grab and pinch that working yarn to pull up a loop the same size. So I'm going to continue going down this portion of the foundation chain until I have 10 more loops. So I have already 2, so I need 8 more. So now that I made it to the end of my row, I'm just going to count, make sure I have 10 loops on the bottom and 10 loops on the top. So a total of 20 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So now I just want to knit all 20 loops for a row. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate my project again another 180 degrees. So that way the loop with the stitch marker is now facing away from me, and the loops that I just knit are facing towards my belly. And I want to go ahead and go from here to here. So in order to do that, I'm going to kind of fold this backwards so that way there is no space between these two sides. So I'm just going from this loop, this is the last loop I pulled up, and this is the loop I want to knit. This is the first loop of the new row. So I'm just going to do something very similar where I take my thumb and my pointer and I'm going to put it through that loop. I'm going to grab and pinch that working yarn to pull up another loop, but this time I want to do 1 finger width. And then I'm just going to take my stitch marker and move it to that new loop, like that. Then I'm going to go to my very next loop right here, and again I'm going to take my thumb and my pointer. I'm going to put it through that loop, grab and pinch that working yarn to pull up another loop that's 1 finger width wide. I want to continue that process for the rest of the 8 of this top row. So now that I've finished this top row, I want to knit these bottom 10 as well. So I'm going to, again, rotate my work. So now the loop with the stitch marker is facing my belly button and the loops that I'm about to knit are facing away. And I just kind of want to fold this in half a little bit so that way there's no space between these 2 loops since these are my corner loops. So I'm just folding that just for this one. I'm going to put my thumb and my pointer through. I'm going to grab and pinch that working yarn and pull up a loop. So that way that doesn't make space between those. Once I do that, I'm not going to fold it anymore yet. I'm just going to continue to knit those remaining 9 loops. So again, go to the very next loop, grab your working yarn and pull it up and through to create a new loop. So I'm just going to do that for the remaining 8. So now that I've done the very last loop, I'm going to be back at my stitch marker. So again, I'm going to rotate my work 180 degrees so my stitch marker is facing away from me and the loops that I just knit are facing towards my belly button. But now I want to fold this in half. So I am going to now flip my work. So I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to flip it over. And this is the inside of our tote. So you can kind of see the difference right here. This side is the outside. This is the side we've been working on. It's nice and flat. It shows a pattern of columns. I'm picking up my work and I'm flipping it so that way you can see the bumpy side. And now I kind of want to force the project to be folded in half. Eventually, we won't have to force it. It's going to stay folded by itself as we get a few rows in. But as you can see, I'm just kind of finding the middle and I'm folding it in half as I go. So this is the loop that I just knit. I want to knit this loop next, the loop with my stitch marker. So I'm going to force fold that portion. I'm going to put my thumb and my pointer through the loop with the stitch marker, and I'm going to grab and pinch that working yarn to pull up a new loop 1 finger width wide. And I'm just moving my stitch marker up to my new loop. Then I'm going to go to my very next loop, and again, I'm going to try and force fold it. I'm going to put my thumb and my pointer through, grab and pinch that working yarn to pull up a new loop the same size. So I'm going to continue that process all the way down, making sure that I'm keeping it folded in half like a hot dog bun the whole way down. Now, as you continue on with your tote, there's a few things you want to make sure of. The first thing is to stay consistent with your loop size. You want these all about 1 finger wide. And that's to ensure that your tote is tight knit and nothing falls out of it. The next thing you want to make sure of is that when you're going from one loop to another, you want to make sure that your working yarn is as close as possible to the previous loop. So what I mean by that is when you're going to this loop right here, let's say, instead of grabbing the working yarn a little farther out like this, creating that slack in between, you want to make sure that you're going as close as possible to that previous loop so there's no space in between the two. This is my tail when we first started, so I'm just tucking that in to the middle, and I'm just continuing along, forcing it to be folded as I knit that front 10 loops. So now that I've completed the first 10 loops, I am going to flip my project, meaning the loops that I just knit, I'm going to flip it. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to flip it. So I have the back 10 loops that I have not knit yet. So these were the loops that I just knit, and I flipped my project so I can get to the back 10 loops. And I want to do the same thing. I want to force it being folded. So this was my 10th loop. I'm about to knit the first loop of this back 10. And again, I'm going to pull up a loop, but I'm going to get as close as possible to where that working yarn's coming out, so there's no holes on the side there. And then I'm just going to continue to knit these 10 loops, staying consistent with my loop size about 1 finger width wide. So now that I've knit all 10 of those loops, you can kind of see it staying folded by itself now a little bit. I will still have to force the fold for maybe 1 or 2 more rows, and then it will stay folded. But now that I have no more loops to do on this side, again, I'm going to pick up my work and I want to flip it. So that way I have the loop with the stitch marker right here, and I'm going to be knitting these 10 loops now. So again, from the corners, just making sure that it's as tight as possible, meaning I'm going as close as possible to the previous loop, and staying 1 finger width wide, and I'm just moving my stitch marker up. And then I'm just knitting all of these loops. And I want to make sure that I am forcing it to be folded, especially in these first few rows, and then it will stay folded by itself. And I always want to make sure that I'm putting my fingers from the outside of the project towards the inside of the project and grabbing that yarn that way. So now that I knit all those 10 loops, I'm just going to again flip my project and knit these back 10 loops. So now that I've completed that row, again, I'm just going to flip my project, and I'm going to continue doing that same thing where I knit these 10, flip my project, knit the back 10 until I have the desired length of my tote that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and continue that, and I will meet you back here once I get to my completed desired length. So feel free to pause right here until you get to your length as well. Hey, welcome back. So I've just gotten to my desired length of my tote, and I have about this much yarn left. So now I'm just going to finish it off. So in order to do that, I want to pull up a loop in my very first and my second loop just like normal. I just want to make these loops slightly larger, about 2 fingers wide. So I'm just pulling up a loop in the very first and making it 2 fingers width wide, and then in the second, again making it 2 fingers width wide. So I now have my left loop and my right loop. I'm going to take my right loop, my second loop, and I'm going to put it through the hole of my first loop, like this. And then I'm going to add a loop again in my next one. So I have 2 loops, 2 fingers width wide. So 1, 2. I'm going to take the loop that I just added, and I'm going to put it through the hole of my now first loop, like this. And I'm going to repeat that process all the way down. So add a loop, the loop that you've just pulled up, put it through the hole of the previous loop. And we're just going to continue that 2-step process all the way around so it gives you a nice braided edge. And you don't want to make these loops too big, or else your tote will be a little bit floppy on top. So keep the loop sizes only slightly bigger than your previous loops. Nothing too big. So I'm just repeating that process all the way down for all 20 loops. We have one more loop to do. And now I'm back where I first started. So as you can see here, I have 1 loop left, And then I have this small little gap right here. So I'm just gonna find that very first V right here. So this is where my last loop is. I'm gonna go across right here and find that very first V, or where we first close it off. And I'm just gonna pull up a loop by pushing the yarn through the back, through both of those like that. So I have 2 loops now, and I'm just gonna put the loop that I just created through the hole of that last loop. So now that closes that gap that was between the 2. So now I should have 1 loop left. I'm going to take my tail. If it's not short already, go ahead and cut it short. But I'm going to take this tail and I'm going to put it through the back of this loop. And I'm going to gently but firmly pull. And as I do that, you can see that that knot kind of tightens on itself. And then I want to insert this tail to the inside of the tote. So I'm just going to find a space near where I just closed it off and just insert that tail through so it's on the inside of the tote. Once it's on the inside of the tote, I'm just going to find somewhere close by to make a few knots. So I like to do it on the inside of this chain or right below it, so that way the knot's hidden. So I'm just pulling the yarn through and creating a knot. And I'm going to do that about 2 to 3 times, just so I know that there's no way that that will come out. So once I've knotted it, I'm going to cut my yarn short. And you can just kind of weave it in, but I like to burn the yarn to the inside so that way there's not this little tail sticking out. So I'm just going to take a lighter and I'm just going to burn it to the inside of the project. So that way it melts and fuses and there's not a little tail sticking out. The very last step of the tote is just attaching your strap. So I want to find the sides of the tote and I'm just going to clip on the strap on those sides, and I want to make sure that I get through both of those strands of the foundation chain. So not just one, but both. So I'm just going to clip my strap right on both sides. And there you go. Now we have a completed tote purse. Again, if you're interested in making a larger size, I will put the cast on amount in the description below. But if you have any questions, concerns, comments, anything like that, feel free to reach out to me or comment in the comment section below, or you can email me as well. And if you aren't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe for more free tutorials. Thanks so much.